Hello everybody, it's Armchair. Something very interesting is happening in life. In particular, something that's going on with my family. But before I get into that, which we definitely will, you saw the title of this video, I need to specify something, and it's probably very apparent based on what I'm playing. I'm very, very passionate about anything that goes on in the aerospace world. Anything that goes on in the aviation space and things we're sending into space. Also, I just like discussing things that go on in the planetary sense as well. Things that go on with celestial bodies and movements and stuff. I play Kerbal Space Program, so of course I'm going to have that bit of interest in that kind of stuff too. All of that stems from one person in particular. The smartest person that I could probably comprehend being in my family, and that would be my grandpa. He was heavily involved in the aerospace industry. In particular, he worked for... This is the part that I don't really remember exactly, even though I literally just talked about it with my dad. But something in particular was that he worked with either McDonnell or Douglas, or McDonnell Douglas after the merger. Either one of those three. I just can't remember which one specifically. But he was the numbers guy. He was the physicist that people would field their questions to. So here's the kind of thing that he would do, and this is pretty accurate because this is actually something that he did. He was the person. One of the projects that he did was that he figured out how the oscillation of solar panels would affect orbits of satellites. So if satellite solar panels moved around and shook around in this way, then the orbit would change this much consistently over X amount of time. So how can they figure out this problem where they can mitigate that issue? Stuff like that. But it was very, very interesting to see those documents, to have those conversations and stuff. And we would have these very, very intelligent conversations at the dinner table, and my mom would have no chance in being able to parse anything of what was said between me, my grandpa, and my dad. Like, we would talk about Planet X, that whole... I don't know if Planet X is brought up as much outside of like the Star Talk podcast from Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of the most insufferable people on Twitter outside Elon Musk. Nothing against Tyson and his smarts. I did very much love the Cosmos show that he did back in the 2010s, but he says some stupid things on Twitter. But anyways, we talked about Planet X and how that kind of influences orbital motions of the planets from great, very, very vast distances. And we would sometimes talk about the achievements that are going on in the aerospace industry, like SpaceX catching a booster midair. We talked a little bit about Starship and what SpaceX planned to do before Elon Musk went insane. Yeah. But, of course, based on the title, you already know what's going on with him. And that is, he is dealing with dementia. Not the Alzheimer's kind, because he still recognizes me. He recognizes everyone in my family, including my partner who he sees less of. So, yeah, he will remember a lot of things, although he will get confused about other things. Like, he thinks he'll need to deal with all this healthcare stuff because of his dementia for the next 50 years. And mind you, he's 80, so I don't think he'll have to worry about that in particular. But, yeah, he still has got his smarts in him. You could still tell that he's kind of there. But, I'll get to that in a couple of minutes. But to put it into perspective how far gone he kind of is in his dementia, he confused his fork with his knife and put the knife instead of the fork in his mouth, thinking that there was food there for him to eat. A little bit concerning, to say the least, right? But, yeah, there's stuff like that we'll have to deal with. And it's gotten to the point where he was already in memory care. He's been in memory care for a while. But he is in hospice now, which is a big change. And that was kind of recent, too, because there was a big scare where paramedics actually had to get involved to kind of assess the situation. They were gonna take him to the hospital. They were in the middle of taking him to the hospital. And right in the middle of it all, they were like, oh yeah, we can't do that anymore. So they just dropped him off back from where they got him. So they put a lot of undue stress on my dad. And through it all, my grandpa was like, I want In-N-Out. I want burgers. My dad was like, okay, I guess we'll get you some In-N-Out after all this. But, what's interesting is that, I mean, I already mentioned, his smarts are still there. And it wasn't clear how still there he kind of is. He still remembers all of his projects. Like, my dad will try to press him on some things, like, can you tell us about some secret stuff that you worked on? And my grandpa would be like, if I told you, I'd have to kill you. So, there's no chance of getting those out of him. So, no OPSEC stuff is allowed to get disclosed, unfortunately. Although I probably would get into deep trouble if I dropped those here. But, something I can talk about is this. My dad tried pressing him on a broken satellite that he actually gave to me. This is the satellite that he gave to me. My dad tried pressing him on what that could possibly be. And he got no luck. I had no idea that my dad was already asking him about it. So during one of my visits, I brought it with me and said, you gave this to me a couple of years ago. And I wanted to know if you remembered the name of this little satellite that you gave me. And my dad was already like, I already tried this, he's not going to remember. And without a split second, as my dad was already trying to tell me what was going on and what he tried, my grandpa said, Tyros M. It's amazing, like, what he still remembers after all of this time and just the progression of dementia. He remembers the broken satellite Tyros N, which is a real project that he worked on. It is an NOAA satellite. It's just amazing seeing how his brain still works, even if it's kind of soup at this point. But, yeah, I just wanted to talk about that, and just because I've been thinking about it ever since that happened. It's just really cool to see how the brain works. So, hope you found that interesting. Thank you for listening. I'll see you guys again very soon.